Yeah, but you remember when they showed the video when you got the video and I was in her office and we're watching this video and it was super like pixelated, laggy. It was like a horrible video. And then when we got into the courtroom, this video was like 4K. They didn't the same video.
How does that happen? They just gave you.
I don't know what happened, and I looked at my dad and I was like, if I seen this, I'd have just said I plead guilty. Like you could see it was me from a mile away. It was right in front of Giants by my dad's house where I got caught and I got recorded.
Is that a common tactic?
Well, I mean, we're getting videos. It's like coalition camera is what it is from the city cameras.
Yes, that are all around.
Yeah, and then we put it on our screen is yay big.
And we get a copy. Yeah. So the original probably looks.
And then when you get in the courtroom, the DA's office marches in the TV about that size.
It was a giant TV.
That they use for like the Zoom stuff now? Like that TV?
Yeah, and then they put that up there.
Put the video up there.
I looked at the video and I looked at my dad and I was like, I'm done. I was like, you can obviously see that's me. 100%.
So we do that a lot to show our kids because I'm sure you remember how nervous you were, right? Like about the whole process and everything. So sometimes showing our kids the video, they can be like, oh, that is me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's really hard when they have to say it in front of their parents when they didn't tell their parents.
My dad knew it was me.
Some kids have been telling the story the whole entire time. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. And then we sit down and I'm like,
put the video on.
Do you know who that is?
Well, and parents can identify their kids more than we can. So if I meet you once and I see a video, I don't know if it's you or not. Yeah. But you bring a parent in and they watch the video, and even if it's you from behind, they're like, "That's my son."
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a quick question just while we're on this. Kid comes in, you observe the video. Parent says, "That's definitely my kid." Kid says, "That's not me." What's your role? What's the public defender's role?
We are the child's attorney. So technically, we need the child's permission for that parent even to come in and talk to us.
Even if they're they're a minor.
Oh, yes.
They are minors.
Yes, and parents have a lot of things to say about that. But the client is the juvenile. Like that is where our confidentiality lies with them. And if they say, I don't want my mom or dad in here, then they don't come in. Now, they come to court. They have to come to court. They need someone there. But anything they say to us is then confidential.
Interesting. What a dynamic that creates.
I've only had that happen a handful of times in like 15
When parents are like, no, I'm the client, not my child.
Yeah.
You're like, well, actually, no.
Yeah. Well, I had a dad show up without his kid the other day. So I had to make clear you have to go get your child. Yeah. So I do think the dynamic is weird. It's but again, as an attorney, you always have those kind of weird issues where other people have an interest or want to tell you how to do your job. Or, I think it's also interesting. Kids, for the first time, have somebody that's just theirs. Like that doesn't happen in a lot of other systems, right? So we're your attorney. You know what I mean? Like we'll do whatever you tell us to do. And so I think that's empowering for kids.
I did have a case where there was 4 kids in a car crashed. They all ran out. There's a video. Kid let the parent watch the video, and the mom was like, you're getting out of the car. You went from the driver's seat across, you got out the passenger seat. And he's like, no, I didn't. I said, okay, we'll have a hearing. And we had the hearing, and the judge found that it was him, that he did do that, and that was it.
In your position, you need to come up with the defense then to...
No matter what, if the kid says, we're having a trial on this. I said, okay, then we go in and we have a trial.
Yeah, that was my case. Yeah,
you decided.
I seen the video and I seen how the video looked and I was like, "There's no way." I was like, 100%. That looks like me. I know that's me. I know exactly where I was at that time. That was me, 100%. And I seen it when I seen the video. I said, "Yeah, we can go to trial. Like, we can fight this." And when we went to court and we seen the video and it was really clear, I didn't think that we should have took it to trial anymore. I think I should have looked for a deal instead of taking it to trial. But that was definitely me. And I was like, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, he didn't tell me watching the video. Like,
no, I didn't.
Nope.
You were holding that one in. You were hoping.
Yeah.
You were playing the long game.
I thought I had a chance when I seen it. I knew it was me. I was like, there's no way someone else can
tell you that it's you.
it was snowing. It wasn't snowing at the time, but there was this big mountains of snow. And if you know where Giants is, they push all the snow. So you just see me for like a glimpse, talk to this person, and then I kind of just disappear behind the snow pile. And I was like, yeah, they're not gonna know it's me. The judge was like, yeah, that's you. That's you. I was
The
like,
other thing
all
to
right.
remember is the Commonwealth has to prove their case too. It's not always just a defense, right? Like, so they have to put forward enough evidence to convince somebody beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a little shaky and juvenile. But
Yeah.
again, I mean, the problem is the cop is going to sit up there in full uniform and say, that's him.
Yeah.
So that weight of that is really difficult. But we still have cases where there's not video.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have cases where there's not somebody on the camera showing you doing something. You know what I mean? Like, and so
However, the flip side of that is we'll get parents and kids in there that says, well, this is not video. How can they prove
Right.
it? Well, they have witnesses. Well, that's hearsay.
old school.
No, if an eyewitness sees something, they can get up and say, that was you.
Yep. And in my case, they brought an officer that is known in the schools, and they brought him in on the stand to identify me in the video. And I remember he pointed at me and said, yep, he's wearing da-da-da-da-da, and described what I was wearing. And I looked at my dad, was like, well, yeah, that was right.
Well, and this is the whole beginning of the school conversation. We have school officers that are making IDs all the time on video at Giant because a school officer sees you all the time.
Yep.
So this is when we talk about that drastic pipeline issue. We have school officers that have contact with our kids every day, 3-4 times a day. They also know what they're like in school. You know what I mean? Like, so if they're not always they're the ones wandering around the hallway or they're the ones getting in trouble, they then police go to them and say, tell me who this kid is. And so all of a sudden you have a witness to identify somebody that we would have never had. They would have never taken it to the principal. They would have never taken it to the teacher to say, who is this kid?
Right.
But they're in law enforcement. And so therefore they have that relationship with, I'm trying to figure out who this kid is. Can you tell me, does he go to McCaskey? Does he go to Ben Manor? Does he, you know what I mean? Like, so it's that next level of identification. Whereas nobody was in that Giant parking lot that would have been able to identify him.
100%.
So this is the double-edged sword of having
Right.
school resource officers.
And they're all law enforcement. They're not school. They're not the school. They are law enforcement.
And what
All
happened?
of our schools have law enforcement.
So like if like in law enforcement, they get on the stand and they're able to identify me. What's the comparison to like a principal identifying me? Does it, since he's in law enforcement, does that hold more weight?
I would think with our judges it does. I mean,
It's up to the judge.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
The judge will
credibility.
tell you that nobody's testimony is going to weigh more than another one. It's just how did they appear that day? Were they credible? But
But that's why I said
That's
the thing
tough.
about the officer, right? So if
Yeah.
you have a guy come in full uniform, I mean, most people believe law enforcement,
Right.
right? I mean, it's just a little tip to that side. They don't lie. And so I think that's where you get into trouble is you've got an officer as opposed to grandma who comes in, who has glasses, was sitting on a porch. Maybe she was paying attention. Maybe she wasn't. She was parked in the Giant, but she was loading her groceries. You have all that ability to
Right.
impact her credibility. Whereas law enforcement, I mean, you're kind of stuck.
Just for our audience listening, because now we're talking about this issue with resource officers in schools IDing kids as part of cases, is there anything our students should hear? Is there anything that they can do? Like, this is an issue worth discussing, but what about our kids in schools? Is there something they should do differently, knowing that this could happen? Is there anything to do about it?
I think you just shouldn't do it. We got
Base level.
Yeah, base level. Don't do it.
Great
we
mentorship
had
right there.
we had so many cameras and stuff and technology nowadays that like you do something on someone's block and they got 4 Ring cameras catching you running away.
Yeah.
So it's like and everyone that's has a Ring camera is happy to volunteer the information and give it to the cops and stuff like that. So I think personally, I just think you shouldn't do it. I mean, I tried it. Obviously, I wasn't a good criminal. my public defender, now I'm 27, is sitting at the same table as me. She fought a couple cases for me, so I found out fast that I wasn't a good criminal. I honestly don't think that is worth doing it, because most likely you're doing it, and like whatever like the consequences for it, more than likely it's not worth what you're doing, you know. So there's a different way. You can figure out a different way, and you helped me figure out a different way.
Yeah. Well, I hope that, you know, I hope kids listening take that into effect. But if they don't, this seems like an insurmountable issue. Like
They're law enforcement.
There's nothing. If I'm law enforcement and someone comes to ask me about a case, and I happen to know a student, I can correctly ID that student. I'm gonna ID that student.
Yep.
So outside of what Nate said, there is no way around this. This is just a point that our students should understand. That,
But I mean, but when you're charged with, unfortunately, your school resource officer might be somebody that's been very helpful to you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you've had issues with other students. You've had issues. A lot of stuff comes and goes before you get charged, right?
Right.
Like, you got a lot of little incidents. You got a lot of, you know, issues in school or whatever. And so that resource officer can help you out, right? Like, make things go away, make things, the principal give you a second chance, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're put in that position where they're now IDing you, and they're going to have to ID you in court. Hands off, like, it's done.
Right.
Like, charges are filed. Like, they have little to no control over it after that. So I think it's hard to make that flip, you know what I mean, in your head, where that person might have been a resource, which is why they're called resource officers. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, they're the person that may be holding you accountable for something you did. So
they're in a
will.
Yeah.
And they will.
And that's because they're in a bind. Like Christine's saying, they have a job too. Like Diana's saying, it's that they're doing great work in many instances. It's that when put in that position, they have no other option, and they're doing their jobs.
Well, this doesn't answer your question, but went to a forum years ago, and kids were there, probably anywhere from like 14 to 17 years old, and we were talking about interactions with officers, like on the street, and why, you know, they might be disrespectful to the officer and not cooperative with the officer. And I'll never forget it. One kid raised his hand and says, well, I don't know that officer, but if my school resource officer called me over to talk to him on the street, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would always talk to him. So there was some good that came out of that, like having the kids be more familiar with officers or not getting into as much trouble and things on the street, and kind of working together maybe a little bit more. But they still have a job to do. The officers have a job to do. And if they've caught you doing something, they're going to hold you accountable for it.
Yep. Yeah. As with all things, it's our balance. You know?
Right.
It's a balancing act, and it's a tough position to be in.
So it goes back to, don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
But then we're out of a job.
Right. That's okay with me. I can find other things to do.
How important, and do kids know, like, walking into a public defender's office, do they know, like, I feel like there's a misconception of when I first heard public defenders that you guys work for the state and you're gonna just try to get the deal and just try to make sure, like, your record looks clean, or like you won the case, or however that looks, and it doesn't matter. So a lot of people tell me, like, your best bet is to get a lawyer. And I feel like when you fought my cases, you fought hands down probably better than I see my brother fight a case with a lawyer and look like his lawyer was folding in. And I feel like you stood on, you know, all 10 and was really fighting for me to beat the case. So, like, where's that misconception come from? Like, do kids know that you're there really to fight the case for them if that's what they want to do?
I think usually it comes from their parent. So I have plenty of parents call me and, like, I need a real lawyer. I'm like, well, I did take the same exam that other lawyers did, and this is just where I work now. But if you feel like you need to get a lawyer, like, go ahead. Like, if you're not going to be happy with me no matter what I do because I'm a public defender, then you might be better off hiring someone. However, you need to know that most of the people that you hire are going to come to us to ask us questions, because we do the bulk of the juvenile work in Lancaster. So when they don't know what form to fill out or what,
that's wild. So
they come to us and ask us.
That's wild.
And you've spent a lot of money on them. But sometimes people just need to have someone else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But Do I get paid by the county? Yes. But do I work for the county against kids? No. We are truly the only person in the system that works only for the kids.
Right.
So your probation officer, like I've told people, it can be your best friend. They're trying to help you. But at the end of the day, we are the only ones that are truly working for you. They still report to the judge. If you mess up, they're going to report that to the judge.
Right.
If you mess up, I'm not going to tell the judge that. I'm going to
Right.
tell him that instead of you not going to school 3 days this week, you went twice, and that's twice more than you went last week. Like, make that sound a little better.
Yeah,
like
right.
you're improving.
Strength based.
Right.
But we are the only ones that are there to help you.
Right.
Really.
And when you sit down with a kid, and they're trying to fight this case or thinking about whether they're gonna fight the case or take a deal, do you tell them that in the office? Like, I'm here to work for you.
And I think it starts when we have to explain, as their parent tries to follow them wherever we're going. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm yours.
Right.
I'm the only one that's yours. We're gonna, and usually I just separate the kid and say, are you okay with your mom or dad being with us? And they almost always say yes. You know what I mean? It comes later on. Usually when they're like, I don't want to do what they said. Can I talk to you? You know what I mean? Like, so that I think that dynamic is usually comes up later. First blush, everybody's nervous, right? Everybody's scared. We've got charges. People think they're going to jail. People think they're going to yick. And so I think that that's interesting. But I think from the other thing, I've never worked in for-profit. I've always been a free lawyer.
Yeah.
And so everybody's always said that about me. But I think from a public defender perspective, the volume that our office does is nobody else does that. As a private attorney, you just can't do it. So the number of situations that we've seen between ourselves and everybody in the office is hands down way more than any criminal defense attorney. Even the oldest criminal defense attorneys, because they just don't do it in that volume.
If I don't know something, there's
Right.
25 other
people
people that I can talk to like that in my office.
Yeah, so we have a whole team of people, and to be honest with you, they're all like-minded people. You know what I mean? Like, that's the greatest part about being there. They're just amazing people that really, truly love what they do. They're very committed to what they do. They're very committed to appellate work. They're very committed to holding the law enforcement, the district attorney's office accountable. I think that, not just because I work there, but I've also had clients that have had public defenders over the years, and it's been amazing. It's unfortunate when people spend, particularly when they don't have money on a criminal defense attorney when a public defender can help you out. It makes me kind of, I do that whole like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why?
Right.
Isn't it true that there's a huge value for a client, one of your clients, to have a public defender who knows everyone else in the courtroom?
Absolutely.
After years of working together, they know everyone, including the judge.
We do have some new judges now that have entered juvenile court, but for years it was 2 judges. And I can hear their speeches in my head. I can replay them. I can say them almost as if, I'm them saying it. I know what to tell a kid is going to happen when we walk in the courtroom. I've just seen it too many times.
Yeah.
So this is really tough work, and it's incredibly time-consuming. So what made both of you choose to go this path? I mean, the legal field, you could have taken it in a bunch of different directions. Why being public defender?
Well, I like to joke that it's in my genes. So my dad was a defense attorney and family law attorney. My mom worked in an alternative school, and my brother was a juvenile probation officer in a different county. So I graduated law school, wasn't sure what to do, worked for a judge, and then the public defender's office had an opening, was interested in just helping people, so started there. I got really lucky. There was another woman that worked there that was doing juvenile court, and 2 weeks after I started, she put her notice in and left. And my boss said, "Do you want to work with juveniles?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I would love to." And then I haven't looked back.
How long has it been?
Like 13 years. Yeah.
What year were you when I first
Trying to ask me my age without asking.
Well, no. What year were you when you fought my first case?
I mean, I was probably pretty early on.
It was early?
Yeah.
10
I
plus
probably
years.
wasn't
Yeah.
an attorney for very long.
Well, when I tell you when she went in the courtroom and fought, like if I was her child, She fought like I was her child. So anybody that's saying like public defenders won't go to bat for you, 100%, you're lying. And I had a public defender that went to bat for me every single time. Even though, you know, she probably knew it was me in the video as well. But 100% she went to war for me in the courtroom. So, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that's true. We both have kids. We both my kids are big. I mean, to a fault probably sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I definitely think we fight like that. I came to this at the end. So I've been an attorney for 27 years. And so my dad was a high school teacher. So was my mom. And so my dad was a PE teacher. And so he always believed in the ability of one person to help a young person. You know what I mean? Like it was just that's what we grew up with. My dad used to do this thing where if you wore a concert shirt to PE class, he'd give you extra credit. So he always was very engaging with the coach. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's kind of weird. I was doing delinquency and dependency kids, and I really, really wanted clients again because I was the agency's attorney. I love my kids.
I do say when people are like, what do you do? I'm a public defender and I work with juveniles. They almost always go, oh, that must be really hard. I'm like, it's not aw. Like, they're redeemable.
Yes.
Like, adults are the ones that, you know, they're probably in too deep and they're not going to change. But the kids, they've made a stupid mistake.
Right.
And we can help them out of it.
Yeah, that's why I think there's urgency with this age group. It's like my favorite age group. Like, before you're 25, we still got time. You know what I mean? Like we can turn this ship around. Like we can get you in a different direction. And I think that's what we try to do is really give you that opportunity of you are at a crossroads. You can keep going down this path, and then you're going to turn 18. You're going to end up at LCP. Yeah. That's up to you. But this is the chance you have to start to see, can I make different choices? Can I put myself around different people?
What is because I think there's large confusion around who public defenders are, and we've talked about that and recognizing the huge value, but what's a normal day look like for both of you? Go in.
So we talked about this a little bit before, and I think my answer is going to be different, but she has a bit of a different job than I. I only work with juveniles. She works with adults as well, splits the time. So I say it's a little bit boring day to day. We have juvenile court twice a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays. We know we're going to be in court every Wednesday and every Thursday. So those days are busy. But the other days, I feel like my job is very reactionary. I am waiting. You get charges. Okay, well, I can't really do much with that. I need to wait for the district attorney's office to give me all the police reports, the videos, any evidence they have.
Right.
Then once I have that, get in touch with the client, try to have a meeting with the client. What do you want to do? Talk about options. And then all right, we're going to negotiate. Now I have to talk to the DA's office. And what do they need? They need to go talk to a victim. They need to talk to this person, that person. They need to make decisions. So we're waiting on an answer. And then once we finally have an answer, you go back to the client. They need to make a decision on what to do. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work before you actually get to the courtroom to do anything. So I feel like I'm waiting for things a lot in the juvenile world.
Yeah, I have a 50-50 docket, so I have adults too, which also requires me to go to court a lot and, you know, prelims and all kinds of other stuff. But, I mean, I feel like our day is solving problems. You know what I mean? Like something's wrong, so we got to figure this out. Or somebody didn't do this, so we got to figure that out. People want to know what's going to happen. I think a lot of times you're in the system and people are so scared. You know what I mean? Like yes, there are a small percentage of people who have been through it a lot. They know what's going to happen, but I still think they're scared. You know what I mean? Like I just, any of us not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, that can be scary, right? So if you don't know what's going to happen, we have so many people, they have no idea when they're going to be sentenced. They have no idea how long they're sitting. They have no idea what the next step is. It's just the nature of the business. Like that, it rolls without you. And so I think it's really, really hard to keep up with keeping everybody informed of what's happening when a lot of the answer is, I don't know yet. And so, yeah, I think that managing fear, as well as kind of making sure that everything goes right, because a lot of times it doesn't.
Right.
And, if there's nobody looking, nobody checking the paperwork, I think that can happen. So.
I think that's kind of what we do on a day to day, as far as like managing fear and then problem solving. But for me, honestly, it becomes real draining. So there's things that I have to do outside of work. What are some things that y'all do outside of work? Is it draining? Do you feel like it's draining? Problem solving every day, trying to figure, like you're trying to figure something out, and then at the end of it is there's someone's freedom at stake too. So like I'm problem solving and I'm just trying to figure out how we're gonna get this kid groceries tonight, and then most likely I'm gonna just call Will, and Will's gonna say, yeah, take the benchmark card and go buy that kid some groceries. You guys are, how are we gonna keep this kid out from doing 1, 2, 3 years? So is that draining for you?
Sometimes, yeah. So sometimes I see things in police reports or see pictures of things that you can't unsee.
Right.
And then you go home and your kids or your husband says something that's not even bad, and you just are like, ah! And wait a minute, it wasn't you. It was work, but now.
Right.
Yeah. But I have little kids, and mine are 11 and 7 now, so we're in a different boat.
Yeah, they consume all of your attention, which is my kids are big. I don't know it. Again, I've been doing this for a very long time, and so I don't do it well. And I came to the criminal system last. You know what I mean? Like, so that I think is a little bit different. I tell everyone watching body cam footage is just not something that's easy to do. It is just the disrespect, the way humans treat each other, the things that people say is just, it's awful. And I'm a visual person. When I did DV work, I used to take the pictures of injuries and I'd put them in a brown folder so I didn't see them every time I opened the folder. And so I don't watch body cam unless I have to. Right. But I think it's really, particularly with juveniles, it's just that inability to have a communication. You know what I mean? Like law enforcement comes in hot and heavy and accusatory and whatever, and this kid doesn't have food, doesn't have this at home, doesn't have, you know what I mean? Like there's no understanding sometimes, and you just watch the dynamic and you're just, in my head, I'm just saying, do you realize what happened to them last night? Do you realize what happened? Do you realize that they've been sleeping on 3 different couches? They're agitated, they're elevated, they're doing what they need to do. Yes, they're responding to you maybe inappropriately, but it is definitely that because a lot's going on. Right. You know what I mean? Like what you meet. And then on the flip side of that, I mean, it's scary to be a cop.
100%.
I mean, can you imagine walking up to a car and not knowing if you're going to get shot? By a juvenile. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, like it may have been, oh, we're adults, we do. But now you walk up to a car with 13, 14, 15-year-olds and you find 2 guns.
I mean, when you were in trouble, when you were younger, it was drug stuff.
Yeah.
That was all there was, not just you. Like, that's what I saw. And now it has totally turned and it's guns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yep. Christine, does that stuff when you're defending someone, do the life circumstances of the person you're defending carry any weight? And that's a question for both of you.
I think it carries weight for me and us.
You know what I mean? When you articulate it in the courtroom, or do you? Or is it worthwhile to articulate that?
In negotiations, I definitely use it, especially if a kid, it's their first time coming into court. That's a lot easier. The DA's office may give them a little bit of a break, but we see the kid again. They're not really considering the circumstances anymore.
Which is the frustrating part, right? Because nothing really changed.
They're still in the same circumstances.
Like, and we all know that when you get that consent decree at the first level, that's the least amount of services that they're going to provide. You know what I mean? Like you got a consent decree because not only was it your first time, but you kind of are a low level risk, right? And so we give you a consent decree, but that means you're only going to get this level of services, and it's only for the juvenile. And I have been doing this long enough, and we are not going to do anything if we just help the juvenile. They are part of a family, whether that's a chosen family, a family that they were born into, whatever family that is. If you don't support the people that are trying to help them, we're out of luck. I mean, and you guys see it, right? A 14-year-old trying to live life without anybody. That's ridiculous. We're not set up for that. That's right. Not the way the world's supposed to be. If we were a different culture where we said at 14 you're going to go out and be able to work, rent an apartment, you know what I mean? Like, but we're not. Half the people aren't even formed until 25. So you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're expecting kids to do stuff without any, and I don't even think sometimes people realize how much they don't have, because most of us didn't grow up like that. And so we just give this we think everybody's got food. I'll never forget, my son had a friend over and he had taken $20 off his mom's counter. You should have heard this. I mean, he took what everybody was supposed to eat from that night. He took the $20 that was going to feed everybody, and he took it to come over and have pizza with my son. That is not something that, like, I didn't even get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I don't think a lot of people get that. You don't go the next step. You know what I mean? Like, people don't listen to the next step. Yeah. Most of us don't know what it's like to have slept on 3 different couches in the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's just no privacy. You don't have a bedroom. You sleep on a couch at home. You know what I mean? Like you share a bathroom with 6 other people, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think Will knows. We took a trip to Boston one time, and they were going out and like sightseeing and being tourists and stuff. We went to go look at this other program that does some similar work that we do, and I slept the entire trip because that was my first time that I had a bed alone. Like, I slept on the bed with my little brother in the basement on like a pool table, and we slept together all the way through high school, feet to head, you know. So it was, when we got out there, I slept the entire trip. I didn't go anywhere. I went.
He's dead. I'm really concerned about it.
He would come
like,
in
"Are
like,
you
yo,
okay?"
you all right?
Yeah.
We got you breakfast, and I'd get up and I'd eat, and then I'd go right back to the room and just like enjoy the room by myself. It was nice. So I never had that experience, and then when I got out there and I experienced that, I didn't want to do anything else but enjoy the bed, because I know when I go back home, we're back to head to feet.
yeah.
So it's easier for most of us just not to think about that stuff,
Right.
because we can make decisions without it. But if you were to anyone who's listening today, whose interest is piqued in the fact that maybe there's more to the circumstances of the kids that we all work with, what would you say to those people about how they should learn more? Like, you're seeing it every day, you're ingrained in the work, and you're doing the work. But what about other people? Like, how do we change this perception or get people to think about this stuff?
And I think it's difficult too, right? Because, like you said, you only bring up the living situations or like what they're going through because at the end of the day, if they did whatever they said they're doing, they still have to face the consequences. The only time that really comes into play is when we're talking about like restitution and how much they should pay. But yeah, I agree. I think like, does that change anyone's perspective? Like, this kid did this because of how he's growing up. He doesn't know any better.
And so I did domestic violence for years, right? So same scenario. How do you change public perception? How do you get people to understand? How do you not ask the question, why doesn't she leave? That's all we ever heard. You know what I mean? Like, she can leave. She's a grown up. She should make different choices. And so I used to try to explain to my clients, because they'd be like, why don't the judges get it? When I pick up the paper, when Diana picks up the paper, when you guys pick up the paper, you read something about people that you care about, right? So you read about what's going on in the city. You read about your neighborhood. You read about the articles about trauma. You read the articles about kids that need help and whatever. That's what we surround ourselves with. We read books. I don't pick up the same books. You know what I mean? Like, I pick up books that are about this stuff. And so again, you don't have to sit in your lobby and talk to kids. You can just choose to read about the stuff that talks about juveniles and what's going on with juveniles. Freaking believe it. Like, you know what I mean? Because that's the second part. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can tell your story, and then everybody's like, well, I don't believe you. Well, that was only for a week. Oh, well, it can't really be like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Really
like,
yeah.
And so
Sometimes
again,
really
I think very similar to domestic violence. Believe victims, believe kids. They're telling you what's going on. It is not and it takes a lot, right? You've got to flip your whole idea of what kids' lives look like.
It's tough to do.
Right? I mean, if we're so worried about sleep, how great was your sleep for how many years?
It was pretty bad.
Right? And then you had to get up, go to school, and be attentive and do everything. And every time somebody came near you, you couldn't be edgy, you couldn't be sleepy, you couldn't be, you know what I mean? Like, you had to perform just like everybody else that slept in their own bed with their own bathroom. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that to me is just a perfect example. We talk about sleep all the time, and the kids are. Can you imagine? I mean, like, that just to me seems like, how are we making it work?
Right.
Like, how did you get here? Because that right there, being sleep deprived for the whole entire developmental, like,
Yeah.
and your brother.
The other
right?
thing that needs to change is you have a parent talking and you have the kid talking, and they're saying two different things. What are most people, who are they going to believe?
Parent.
They always believe the parent, but oftentimes we've learned it's the kid that's telling the truth, and no one's listening.
Yeah. And your mom might have never told anybody
Right.
because she was embarrassed or she was afraid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, again, that concept, right? Like,
I see my dad go in plenty of times and paint this narrative like everything was A-okay.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at him in meetings like, yeah, you're lying, brother. I ain't gonna lie, you're lying. Sorry.
it's interesting that you should say that, because I have kids that tell me that. Like, when I pull them away, sometimes when the paperwork gets, the parents got all this, and I'm like, okay, let's just go talk. And they'll be like, well, she's not really telling the truth. This is what really happens.
Right.
And it's so hard, right? Because that's who you're loyal to. That's your parent.
Yeah.
Like that. But then how do you tell other people what's going on?
I think it's scary to tell, because it's almost like you're telling on your parents.
Yeah.
And then like you got to go home and live with that person. So now they're looking at you like, my dad would lie all the time though. You can ask my little brother, like, oh, everything's great at home. Everything's great at home. There's only beer in their fridge. There's nothing else to eat. And we go into these rooms and they're like, I'm at school on time every day because breakfast is, I know it's going to be there. I know lunch is going to be there. You look at my attendance for school, I was at school because I know there was food. And let's be honest, if we look at how I look right now, I enjoy food, right? So I was going to be where their food was. So there wasn't nothing at home but eggs and beer. So we got really good at making egg sandwiches, putting eggs on rice, making eggs with ramen noodles. Eggs was with everything.
I knew him for several years, and I didn't know any of this.
Right.
This is the first time I'm ever hearing about this.
Right.
So it's tough. Like, the uphill battle is huge. We all take our little step towards it. But what about the system side? What needs to change on the system side? What we already touched on was just an understanding of circumstances that kids are living through. Like, that's not factored in. But what else, from your perspectives inside, do you want to see change about the system?
Money needs to change. So, perfect example, talking to Nate today, and I know he had a case that he owed probably a couple $1,000s of restitution on from when he was a kid. And I
It was
said,
expensive.
how did you get that paid? And he's like, I don't think I did. So it might still be outstanding today.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
if he wants to
It's
go
on my desk. We're working on it.
I'm
We're
like,
working on it.
if you want to go buy a house, you want to buy a car, the county could turn that into a judgment against you, and that's going to affect your credit. So once you turn 21, that can happen. So he's got you, and you're helping him, right? But how many kids are in his situation that they don't have someone looking after them? They think they're done with probation at age 21 and everything's good, and then years later this could pop up because we don't really help kids pay.
And they make it difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Oh, yeah.
It's difficult to figure out who you need to pay, what you need to pay, where it goes to. Like, it's difficult to figure that out. I was trying to figure it out for so long with my license.
And the other concern is, I know I have to pay this, but if I go into the courthouse where I need to go to pay it,
Right.
what if I get arrested?
Right. And
Oh,
say,
that's
I didn't
good.
pay it.
Yeah.
That seems like you're admitting
get
that you didn't
arrested.
do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the stacking of fines that are unrealistic for a child to be able to pay off given their circumstance.
So we've gotten a lot better since when I started. Judges now will often forgive court costs if someone is successful on probation.
Great.
So that's, if you have one case, it's probably $150-ish, something like that. If you've got 4 cases, they just stack up. We have programs now that when kids succeed in them, they kick money back and help pay the kids' restitution or costs. We have a restitution fund within the county that's discretionary. You can only get certain amounts out of, so that's not going to fix everyone's problems. But my main problem is we'll have kids that aren't bad enough to get services, right? So we have a 10-year-old that destroys. I had a 10-year-old destroy an elevator with a fire extinguisher. And how's a 10-year-old going to pay thousands of dollars? They're not. But they didn't need an intensive supervision program, one that's going to kick money back. So that person, I think, still owes all of that money. They're probably almost 20 now.
There's also, she just used the word that drives me crazy, this whole discretionary thing. Because I'm not sure, because I haven't kept track of it yet, but I don't know who gets it and who doesn't.
Right.
And when somebody says, oh yeah, they've been giving them $400 a month on their restitution, and I'm like, why were they not doing it for my other kid? Why were they not doing it for this kid?
Right.
Why are we not putting everybody in that program if that's the only one that can give them money? Like, it seems very discretionary, which drives me nuts. Because again, why should somebody be able to be given that opportunity and somebody isn't? It should be a straight across the board. This is how you do it. We just had a kid that's in, I don't know whether it was Berks or Chester County. Their community service hours are paid. And so that can go to restitution.
Yeah.
There is, in the bigger picture, juveniles are very, very, not considered because they're not going to jail. Most people are getting probation. So even in the
That's important.
Right, among attorneys, among the district attorney's office, among the community, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's a problem.
It's
you know what
just
I mean? Like,
probation.
Right.
They're
I don't
just
think
getting probation.
I don't think a lot of people choose to do this work. I think a lot of people are given this work. I think, Diana and I chose it as opposed to, or it chose us, whatever way you want to say it. But again, I don't think it's the DA's office isn't looking at how can we do better by juveniles. You know what I mean? Like, they're really, I feel like there's a lot of places that we could do a lot of things that would take away the fear. Because that's the thing that always drives me crazy about the legal system as an attorney for forever. Like, it's just nobody understands, and then you can't get a hold of somebody to explain, and you're sitting at home worried about this or worried about that, and you just don't know. And yeah, I think fear is the.
Well, I don't know how many times I've had parents leave a couple voicemails, like 3 times in one day. I'm like, okay, I'll call them back. And the mom on the other end just says, is my child going to jail for this? I'm like, oh, no, they're not. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, okay, well, what do we do? And then we have a conversation, but they just needed someone to answer that question because they were scared.
Yeah, I think fear is a big part. Yeah.
Just before we move on to this tactical thing, if you're a student and you have some fines that you owe, you want to pay them off, you're ready to pay them off, but you don't know if you have a warrant out for your arrest and you're scared to go in and pay them off because you don't want to be arrested, what should you do? Just tactically for anyone listening.
They issue warrants for juveniles. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like adult court, which is the other thing that interferes a lot. So a lot of our kids have had parents that have been through the criminal justice system, and so they think some of those consequences are going to happen to their kid. And so again, it's a good idea if you have juvenile stuff. Again, I don't even know that they're turning them into judgments yet.
No.
If you have that order that you were taken off of probation, there really isn't.
Now, if you also have outstanding adult things
Right.
and you go to pay off a juvenile thing, can they pick you up on
Right.
an adult thing? Absolutely.
Right. But it wouldn't be the same. It would be, as long as you're still a kid, that's the first step. And as hard as it is, you can find all this stuff online.
So that's a good. That's kind of one.
Although I don't know, can you find your juvenile stuff? Like, can he look up his juvenile?
I don't think so.
I'm just curious if one of our students who's aged out of the juvenile bracket
Right.
is now finally paying stuff off, and they're not sure if there's a warrant out for their arrest. What should they do? Because we have a number of students who, based on just their life circumstances, that's a concern they have. They may or may not have a reason to believe that there's a warrant out, but they're not sure, and they're not going to take the risk of going in and having everything taken away. So what should they do?
We can probably check on that. Our office could, if they have an attorney for whatever reason, that attorney could.
Okay.
Somebody
Also-
can call the sheriff's office.
You can also call in. You're not telling anyone where you are at that
Right.
point. The other thing is, and I don't know if Christine's going to agree with me, the probation office, the juvenile probation office, is a good resource. They are good people that are trying to help. So there are a lot of juvenile probations in there, officers that will go out of their way to help and find that out. Especially if they had a good relationship with them when they were on probation. They will continue to try to help can't say maybe every single probation
No,
officer,
I
but
would
there
agree with
are
that.
there
I would
are
agree
ones
with
in
that.
there that will
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think
help
that's
you.
definitely a place to start. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't imagine. I don't see anyone having a negative consequence if you called into juvenile probation and have a question. You know what I mean? Like nobody's gonna. That's not. I think that they're definitely going to give you the information. I think that that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. Anybody can call the sheriff's office. The problem is even adults. Some people don't know. You know what I mean? Like you call the sheriff's office. I have had numerous clients in my other life where we would call the sheriff's office and make sure when she went for a protection order, there were no warrants. And then lo and behold, somebody shows up with a freaking warrant. And so again, it's just an imperfect system. You know what I mean? Like, so that's part of it.
We've also had terrible times in juvenile court where a parent brings the child in and the parent gets arrested on a warrant.
Geez.
And then you've got the kid there with no one and watching their parent go out with handcuffs. That happens too many times.
I think that's what scares it. At least what we see is when people are ready, we're working with people before they're ready to make changes. And then when they're ready to make changes, they come back. But their number one concern is, I'm ready to make changes. I'm on the right path. I just don't want to have to go get locked up. Then I lose my job. I lose all the stuff I've set up. So I appreciate that. It's just good tactically for us to.
And that would be the time that private counsel can help you, because part of the problem with the public defender's office is you have to have an open docket. You have to qualify. So you're doing well, and now all of a sudden you don't qualify for anything, right?
If you're an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're an adult male working a normal job, 40 hours a week, you're done. Like you're not going to get our services. And that's the time to talk to somebody to figure it out. You know what I mean? Because then they can help look up dockets. They can, you know what I mean? Like that would actually, I think, good money. You know what I mean? Like to learn stuff that you don't know, or that you can't have access to, because you won't have access to us, and you won't have access to a lot of free stuff. And so that's probably the time to save up the money, you know, and talk to somebody. And again, there's good attorneys and there's, you know, they're the gene pool, as you know what I mean? Like, but there are plenty of great criminal defense attorneys that would hardly charge you anything to help you get that all straightened out. You know what I mean? Like it's not their bread and butter. So yeah, I think that that's probably a good use of the criminal defense bar.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I have a question about your relationship with the DA's office, because it's not every day. Like most of us in our daily work, we don't know that every Wednesday and Thursday we're going to have to go in court and not argue in a bad sense, but argue in a good sense for. So you have the DA's office that you know you will see and you will have to do dialogue with every single week in a high intensity situation. How do you manage that? And you don't have to bash the DA's office. That's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying, how do you manage that? Like, we don't have to do that in our job. We don't have to argue every Wednesday and Thursday.
Nope.
But
So try to keep it as professional as possible. There are some times where I am really angry about whatever answer I got for a kid, and there's nothing I can do about it. But if I yell and scream back or say things that I shouldn't say, then it shouldn't, but it could affect my next client coming through, because I'm going to have the same DA that I'm working with. I mean, there's only a couple of them that do juvenile court. So if I that DA off today, in a week, they might still be mad at me. Like, nope, I'm not going to give you that offer, which isn't fair. And I'm not saying they necessarily do that, but it's a concern. So I feel like in my job, I have to bite my tongue a lot.
you're doing it so that you can get a better outcome.
Yes.
And she does it more than me.
So Christine, what about you?
We all have a really hard job. Again, I often wake up in the morning and be like, you know, why didn't somebody get back to me? And then I remember they have to engage with law enforcement, they have victims. You know what I mean? Like it's not as easy. We all aren't making these decisions based on our own you know what I mean? Like our own stuff. So they depend on a lot of people. I wish it had more of an impact and people would listen a little bit more to the backstory. You know, we were talking about this the other day. We have a lot of kids who have IEPs and have disabilities that are very related to what they did. And I feel should be treated differently because of it. And nobody even looks at it. You know what I mean? Like there's not Also, like how law enforcement deals with somebody. If somebody's on the spectrum, don't touch them.
Right.
Like, they're going to hit you. If you touch them and get in their space, they're going to hit you. Like, you can almost guarantee it.
Right.
If you have somebody that needs to have space and needs time to process something, we need to give that. We need to understand that. And, you know, it's very difficult to watch that all the time. And so I think I try to remember that everybody's doing the best they can at this point in this time. And, you know, we're going to do it again tomorrow. You know what I mean? I think that has always been, I mean, I've always kind of represented the underdogs. And so it is. It's always, everybody always laughs. My mentor always wore sneakers to court. And it used to drive me crazy. And it was a legal services guy. And he thought he was cool. And he thought he was like, you know, hippie back in the 60s. And I was like, I feel like I have to dress because my client isn't getting the respect. And so I need to kind of do that respect. And so that's what I think about a lot. I think we have to play the game like it's supposed to be played to a certain degree so that we can get the benefit for our client. But,
Yeah, I remember I was fighting. I don't remember the case, but I remember I had a lawyer, and it was this tiny guy. He might still be a lawyer. He was this tiny guy, and he wore this really big baggy suit and had sneakers on. And I was like, oh my God. I looked at my dad. I said, I'm going to jail. I don't think that. I said, because anything he says, I don't believe. So I know the judge is probably looking at him like, why? I came in, my dad made me dress up. I had a button-up suit on, and I had to come in with like slacks and stuff like that, dress shoes when I came into court. And I was looking at this guy like, yo, I'm going to jail, Dad. He's not. There's no way he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. And I don't remember that case, and I'm there's not a lot that I won, so I'm sure I lost. But yeah, I think when he came in there, I was I was questioning who he was and what he was about to say. Yeah, and we never met before. Like, we just kind of went in. He didn't like take the time to meet me or not and then like talk. I just seen him and he was like, "Yep, I'm here for you." And then I was like, "All right."
Yeah. But normally you do have meetings. You have many.
Yeah. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. I mean, we're busy, but kids are busy too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's the other thing too. And coordinating mom, you know, one of my things is, having been a mom, like, one more thing I gotta get you to, especially when you are not behaving well. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if like most of the kids that we see that are doing some kind of offenses in the community are not getting up for school and are not listening to their moms, are not coming. Like, it's another battle. Yeah. So I would rather take the battle off. I'll see you at court. Nothing has to happen at court. That's what I tell everybody. Even if this is the first time we met, we're good. We can continue this. But I sometimes feel like it's adding and piling on to make somebody else come into my office, come downtown, find parking, get your kid to come. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing from being a mom that I take is, oh my gosh, when my kids weren't behaving, getting them to do anything was so difficult. You know what I mean? Like, just, I would ask, could you pick up the dishes? And it would be like, you know, a battle for half an hour. Like, that's, I don't want to put people through that.
Yeah, I was all for it to go down and see. I was excited. You were my first public defender that actually like I felt like was fighting for me. So I was excited to go down to the office. I was like, oh, all right, cool. I'm gonna go meet you at your office. Let's talk about it. No, I didn't do it. I leave the office. Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely did it. But I was excited to see it. It seemed like you took like a real big interest in like trying to get me off, or like you were really trying to help me, and that was the first time I ever.
So that's interesting. You say that. You said trying to get you off. So I never view my job as trying to get someone out of trouble. That's what people say. They're like, "You're a defense attorney. Yeah. How can you represent people that are doing bad things?" I'm like, well, there's a whole other half of the system. Everybody has to be doing their job. So police officers aren't always doing their job. It's our job to hold them accountable, point out what they're doing wrong. And if that means that you get out of a little bit of trouble because they didn't do their job right, so be it. But my goal isn't for you to not be in any trouble. My goal is to make sure that you get what's fair. Right. That everybody gets what's fair, which is another problem that we see every day. Like, I can have you and your buddy do the same exact thing with the same exact background, and you guys get two different outcomes just based on what DA you had, or what judge you had, or what victim you had. which is one of the biggest thing that drives me crazy about the system.
Yeah, I've seen that the most times, like when I'm in jail. Someone's like, "Oh, I'm fighting the same thing, bro. I got 3 months," and I'm like, "Well, they gave me 6." And he's like, "Oh, well, I thought you would get 3 months." Well, nah, I got 6 off of that. So, and it's, everyone in jail is a lawyer. Everyone thinks they know. Everyone knows what to tell you. Nah, you gotta fight it, bro. You just gotta say this and this and this. I'm like, it doesn't. My case didn't work like that, brother. So it was completely different when I walked in there. I didn't get to say anything actually. So
Yeah, it's all circumstantial for every single person. But
Yeah,
the
'cause
best you can do is get good counsel.
And I think that's, you know, as naive as it may be, if we're all not doing our jobs, the whole thing falls apart. You know what I mean? Like if you all of a sudden can be stopped by the cops and nobody ever questions, what makes them stop the next person or the cop when he's off duty? Like it's a slippery slope, right? Like, so if we don't continue to push back a little bit, then it won't work. And that's why I said they have the burden to prove their case. We literally don't have to say anything. Like, we can just sit there, and if they don't have enough or they don't have the video ID,
right,
it's on them. Like, it's sometimes you get caught up in the whole, oh, we have to prove that we're innocent. No, you have to prove that they're guilty. Yeah. I mean, and I think sometimes they forget that, and don't, you know, it's a common saying in our office, make them prove their case. Because you try to, you know, oh, this, oh, that. No, they have to show it. They have to prove it. They have to use evidence. They have to use rules of evidence.
To follow the rules.
Right,
right.
exactly. So I think that's, I definitely have, I try to remind myself of that, that, you know, they're the ones with the burden, not me.
Do you think it's difficult to prove their case, or do you think it's easy? I know every case is different, but do you think by following the rules and stuff like that, do you think it's easier for them to prove their case?
So they would probably disagree with me, but I think their job is easier than our job. So they know everything about the case. Yeah. They've had a meeting with their police officer and their victims and their witnesses before they're actually taking it into the courtroom. We're sort of reacting to whatever the person says on the stand. So I think they have a roadmap that they follow. Mm-hmm. And if, you have a crime, there's elements that they have to meet. They can check those off by their witnesses testifying. And then we sort of have to try to poke holes in things.
And they have the most credible witness.
They have the officer.
That's the most difficult thing. So that's one of your jury questions, right? Does law enforcement tell the truth? Almost everybody says yes.
You want to believe police officers,
you
right?
Want to believe that, right?
Right.
But I don't know. If you work in this world, that is.
I had a case where absolutely this kid was 100% one that was doing whatever it was, and there was a video, and we can show it. Well, I got the video, and it was the backs of 5 kids in Phoenix, the green sweatshirts or shirts, and I'm like, I don't know. So I brought the parent in, and the mom was like, "That's not my son," and the kid was like, "That's not me," and I couldn't tell. And that the DA's office, they didn't know. They just went off what the police officer said. Yep, that's that kid. And then once we sat down and I talked to the DA, hey, the mom is saying this. You might want to take a closer look. Then they did, and they did the right thing. They withdrew the charge because they couldn't identify them. But in that case, the DA's office didn't really know. I didn't really know. And it was the officer that started that ball rolling.
I had one of those already, too.
That's crazy.
I print the picture out. I bring it to mom and the kid, and I go, "Is this you?" And he's like, "That's not me." And everybody has a black hoodie. Everybody has black sweatpants, and everybody's wearing something over their head.
Yep.
And we now have the proliferation of masks. You know what I mean? Because everybody's got a mask. And so, again, it's... my new thing is I want to take a picture of everybody coming out of McCaskey at the end of the day. And I just want to have a video for about 5 minutes. And I want to put it up there and say to the officer, "Do you see a kid?"
Right.
Because it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. If somebody presents it to you, it's a psychological principle that you're going to want to believe yourself that that's the kid.
Right. Yeah.
So I seriously, that's the video I want to make, because when you watch that, everybody's got the same thing on. It's just, you can't tell. We get these videos with 6 kids.
I don't know which one's mine, who's supposed to be doing what.
He had Adidas sweatpants on. so did everybody else.
Oh,
you know
remember
what I mean?
that
Like,
case I had? There was
yes,
a very
the very
distinctive
distinct-
sweatshirt. I had never seen it. It was like a spider web with something on it.
Yep, I know
But you
what
probably
you're
know,
talking about.
right?
Spider hoodies, yeah.
Right. So I had no idea what it was. So to me, it looked distinctive. The DA's office, like, they were like, that's the sweatshirt. He's wearing it here. He's wearing it in this video where he does whatever. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. And then a couple days later, I was in court with another kid, not related to this case at all.
Yeah.
And I walked by him and I'm like,
that's the sweatshirt.
so I'm like, I went up to him. I'm like, this is a really weird question, but like, where'd you get your sweatshirt? And he named a store, and I'm like, what is it? And he sort of explained it, and the mom was like, yeah, all the kids are wearing these, and I didn't know.
Yep.
The DA didn't know. So then I went in the courtroom and I said, hey, to the DA, can you come out and just walk with me? So he did, and I'm like, look at that sweatshirt, and he's like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, we don't know. I didn't know. And then that case went away
if
too.
I was gonna say, if you're covered from here to here, there are very few people that can tell who you are. I mean, that's the whole purpose of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're covered, I don't know how everybody's so sure that that's
Yeah.
the one. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
They told me I have a distinct build.
Oh, I bet you I could find 4 more guys.
That's him. He walks like that. Look at him. But yeah, that's crazy. Everyone has that hoodie is very popular too. That spider
I had
hoodie.
no idea.
That's a whole. They got whole spider outfits and stuff. That's Young Thug's his brand. Yep.
Yep, that's what the kid told me, and I was like, I still don't know what you're talking about.
Right, exactly. I'm good. Your goal? Yeah, tell me what this is.
So in this work, with all these challenges, something must be giving you both hope to keep doing it. So I think that's, I think that's our note to close
Yeah,
on. Like, what's
right?
giving you hope that keeps you doing this important work?
Most kids that we see, we do not see again. You forget that because our case numbers still remain the same. But most kids we work with, we're never going to see again because they touched the system, they got some services, and they've moved on. They've made a dumb kid mistake that we probably did, but we didn't get charged for it. Like if you get in a fight at school, you're probably going to get charged now. When we were in school, you got like a detention or something. So things are different. So we don't normally see kids over and over again. We remember the ones that we do because we see them so often, but really that percentage is low.
That's positive to hear.
Yeah, I think it's kids like you who's not a kid anymore.
Right.
I think that I just like kids. You know what I mean? Like they have great stories. They're super honest if given the chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they also are very realistic about what the circumstances were. Like I feel like our kids understand the big picture, and so having them process that. You know what I mean? Like this is not the end of it all. We're gonna get through this, and seeing them kind of have that, like they get that accomplishment. You know what I mean? Like even if it was really bad, just seeing them get through it, even if there are big consequences and they have to do it, just seeing them get through it. But I don't know. I like this age. Yeah, I miss my kids, so that's probably why.
Well, the fact that both of you are doing this work makes us really proud to know you. So thanks for coming in today. And
Seriously.
I hope that everyone who listens hears this and thinks about this system as not something that's like distant, but that affects the communities that we all live in. And if you want to learn more, you can go and learn more. Like there's great resources that talk about some of the work we've talked about today.